one haircut. Looks like all the ones on either side of your head. I'm sorry, I could not resist.
Oh, I need to get a haircut. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like dying. I'm like, I need this off.
I like growing my hair long in the wintertime so it warms my head. But for me, long hair, this is about as long as it gets. I actually tried a couple times to grow a ponytail because my kids asked me to, but it was so embarrassing. I get to a point where instead of it, how there's guys that just look good with long hair. I'm not one of them, and it gets to a point where people just assume I was kicked awake under the dumpster behind a Smith's grocery store. It's just, I mean, oddly specific, but that's what it looks like.
That's a very extreme way of putting it. But
So
it's
how was your guys this week?
uh I
Good.
mean I just don't know where to go from there. I was at my grandmother's house, helped her again, and I have to
Good.
work again, and now I work through Thanksgiving.
That's awesome.
I'm working till Thursday, and then I'm gonna go back home for Thanksgiving, and actually get time and a half for working on Thursday, so that's nice.
Oh,
And I'll
that's
be off by
nice. That's
noon.
really nice.
I eh, it ain't that bad. I got people I like working with, and plus I probably get paid more too.
That's always good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't get paid more for working on holidays or weekends. As a teacher, they just expect you to. So that's awesome.
Eh,
It could be worse. I could not have a job at all.
That's true.
I mean, I hadn't had a
Uh,
job for at least a long time. This is the
yeah, it's
I only have one job, and that's the one I'm working.
Well, that's good. Okay, I'm waiting to, okay, here we are. Okay, we have some updates. We have some new videos and stuff like that. And I wanted to watch them. I am up to date with everything is graded right now. And I've made helpful comments on everybody's submissions. There, this is for the general class, not for you two, but for the general class, please wait to email me any sort of irritation until you double check and refresh your Canvas to see if I have updated the grade. Because I've gotten a couple emails of people getting a little bit upset because I updated the grade and they did not see that I had because they hadn't refreshed their Canvas before sending the email. So just wait a little bit. Don't get upset. But everything is up and everything is online. And there's a couple of things that I noticed that I really, really appreciate, which is when people resubmit, they are always looking at the comments. And that makes it a lot easier on me because there are specific things that I'm looking for. And I mention those and they get it. So that's really great. I very much appreciate that. When you guys do that, when you guys read the comments and pay attention to the assignment directions, it makes grading so much easier on me. So again, thank you guys for doing that. All righty. Now I'm going to, last time it wasn't really super successful in the screen share. So I think that I think I have everything set up so we can do it easier. We are going to watch the latest critiquing someone else's work and the latest critiquing our own works and the latest presentations. Let's do critiquing our own works first. Okay, So you guys see this? This is the playlist. This is what I've got set up. And one of the people last week, the sound didn't come through, so we didn't watch it. And she since told me she wasn't aware that the sound wasn't working on it, and so it looks like she's going to redo that pretty quick. But again, the extra credit comes to everybody who gets this done before Thanksgiving. Today is the 20th. Thanksgiving is on the 23rd. So if you get it done by midnight Wednesday night, you're going to get the extra credit. All right? Is that good for everybody?
Good for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so we've got two of the critiquing my own work that came in. And so we'll go ahead and watch both of those. This first one is by Jessica. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. All right. You guys can see that, right? Okay, I'm going to play just a second, make sure that we can hear it. This is the sound check.
This is the biomorphic.
Did everybody hear that? Okay.
I did.
All right. Excellent. All right, here we go.
This is the biomorphic abstraction with the paper mache done by me, Jessica Barlocker. I can see that this is a 3D form, that it is covered in paper, such as a newspaper or a grocery ad. It has waves and forms such as antlers or even coral or water. It has a very biomorphic shape to it all, and it's very smooth and rounded with different forms coming out of it in different directions. The analysis, what has been done to achieve certain effects, is the artist has carved out of the form different blobs or rounded parts out of the form, probably using a knife and then maybe smoothing it down with sandpaper, which helps it to have such a soft and smooth effect. And they had to plan out how to carve out each section, especially ones that are connected to each other in the middle there, to make it look like they were their own separate forms but happened to be touching. Even the bottom of the whole form is rounded and has indents and outdents that are still soft and smooth and probably have also been sanded down or carved out of to give that wave-like effect. My interpretation of this piece is that it's flowing, it's like water or even seaweed in the water. It's very naturalistic. And it is almost peaceful in what it looks like. There's no jagged edges. Everything is very smooth and rounded. Everything's been very planned out, and it seems to be pretty even. There's nothing outweighing each other. They're all pretty unified and harmonious as well. There's a great balance to the piece. Each piece also has its own scale and proportion, but they all work together, and it creates a nice even amount of each large, medium, and small. There's even some repeating forms in there as well, which kind of help to create that unification. It also helps to create that peacefulness when there is a balance. My judgment and evaluation is that it's very successful. It was meant to have a biomorphic shape to it, even with the paper mache on top. And I think that was done successfully because the form kept its shape. And despite the colors and the grocery ads on top, you can still see those wave-like forms on within the structure itself, because it was a strong enough piece that the smoothness and the roundness of it all and the wave-like peacefulness of it has shown through even with the paper mache on top.
Okay,
All right. That was excellent. That was very nicely done. One of the things that Jessica did better than most other people is her voice. It sounds like she's really separated herself from what she's, my words are failing me, what she's critiquing. She's really been able to divorce herself from that. So it sounds like she's critiquing a stranger's thing. And that's absolutely perfect. She did a great job in that. What did you guys like about it?
I think it was good how detailed she was, and like it's really felt like she was describing it the way someone would in like a documentary or something. So, I mean, that's got to be a good sign, right?
Yeah, and that's something. It can be difficult to strike that correct balance where you are giving a personal attention to something that you're critiquing while still maintaining a little bit of I guess professionalism. I mean it can be a little bit difficult, and I think she did a pretty good job doing that. I thought that was excellent. All right, let's look at this other one. This is by Catalina.
Okay, so this is the project for wire sculpture, which was in the defining volumetric form with line module. That was a couple weeks ago. For the description of this artwork, this wire sculpture, there are two different main subjects. There is.
Wait a second, have we already seen this one, or is this? Because I think this was the most recent one.
We have seen that one before. It's just been a while.
Yeah, it looks familiar. I don't think those are quite in order.
Okay, because I thought that they were.
Because I turned mine in yesterday and I saw it on the list earlier, but.
Okay, I think you're right. Let me go back and see what I can.
This is the biomorphic abstraction with the paper.
Okay, because here we have them in order. So self-critique. All right. You know what? You're absolutely right. Let's see. We should be doing these two right here, or these three that were all uploaded 4 hours ago. Okay, so Katie and Mitch. We'll do Brooklyn. What?
This is the.
Okay, so yeah, this looks right because I uploaded these 4 hours ago, and that's what it says.
The biomorphic abstraction with the paper mache project done by me, Brooke Anderson. I can see that this is a non-objective 3D form, and it is covered in paper mache, which is possibly made from old magazines or newspapers. The structure has curves throughout in places that appear to be deeper than others, as well as places that appear to be higher than others. The structure is very smooth and could appear to be something like intestines, or could even be seen as abstract 3D forms of letters or numbers. Like from this side, it could be maybe a 3 or even like a B, but just different, very abstract numbers or letters. The structure is very contained within itself. There's not really projecting forms. from this main form that's kind of all bunched together. For the analysis section, the artist has carved from this main body divots and channels in order to create the kind of bumpy or projecting forms that do flow into one another. This 3D form communicates a structure that could be similar to maybe a cylindrical material that's knotted and bunched together. This creates a piece that has a lot of movement because there are no abrupt stops or harsh edges. This is also achieved through the use of sandpaper, which allows the artist to create a very smooth and connective texture. This piece is also very balanced. There doesn't seem to be one side that's heavier than the other, which creates a big sense of harmony within the piece. For the interpret section, this piece is very conceptual. It doesn't really reflect any object directly that exists currently, but it is a very naturalistic looking form because it is so smooth and connective. It could reflect something like intestines, like I said earlier, which is obviously very humanistic because we learn about that in classes, and obviously it's a human form. For the judgment section, I do believe that this form is successful because it communicates a biomorphic form and creates a pleasing piece with lots of visual interest. I believe this piece would contain value to others because it is pleasing to look at, which is one of the goals of art. And it does entertain the viewer through creating unexpected forms and waves throughout, which kind of forces the viewer and influences them to take a deeper look and keep looking at the art to find more throughout the piece and analyze how it was constructed, obviously. So I do believe that this piece was successful.
I said that. What do you guys think about that one?
Well, it's definitely interesting. I personally don't like abstract stuff very much. I prefer it when I can see what it is, and so I think she did a good job, though.
Yeah, just talking about the critique itself, I think she did a really good job. I think she did a really good job of stepping away from it being hers. And I kind of like this piece, but I've heard its intestines several times now. So it's going to be hard for me to form my own opinion about it. But I think she did a really good job critiquing it. I think she did a great job. I mean, we could hear each of the four steps, and she was clear and articulate. And that's really what I'm looking for, the clear articulation about why you think it is the way it is. I think that makes it quite a bit more successful than otherwise. All right, so here
I would have had a hard time figuring out why it was the way it was, because that I have a hard time with abstract, but she did a really good job with analyzing it and all that good stuff. So I think it's great.
Have you already done your critiquing somebody else's work?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because it'd be fun to hear you critiquing an abstract. Sometimes that is actually really, if you know you don't like the style of art and you're not trying to sell it, you're just trying to describe it. What is interesting is when you do this and remove your personal feelings from it as much as you can while you're describing it, and then go through the steps. It's interesting because a lot of the times people start appreciating the effort that went into it, and that opens a doorway for whether or not you like that style of work, you begin to respect it. And I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, let's go to the next one. All right, here we go.
All right, this is Katie, and this is my dragon. So first off, description. What do I see? I see wire, and also a brick wall background and foam used to photograph the wire dragon. And it does indeed look like a dragon. It's got some wings, and its head is, facing the sky, like it's crying out, yelling out, or roaring. It has a spindly little tail, and yeah. So analysis. How does it look like that? So the wire was twisted and bent to make each of the wings and the body of the dragon, and it's got a little base, a little swirly sort of base for it, basically its butt. And there's some wire that was also bent to make some little horns on the top. The wire definitely makes it look more skeletal than like it's an actual living creature or anything like that. So interpretation, dragons can be symbols of freedom or power. I feel like power, especially, like, for instance, Smaug in The Hobbit. He's pretty powerful and very rich. He kicked all the dwarves out of their own home. So as far as what this means to me personally, I just like dragons. They're cool. I don't usually think too much about them. I just like the pretty colors and the scales and all that stuff. It does remind me a little bit of my. I've got a little articulating dragon toy thing, and it's a fun little thing, which is part of what inspired this. Actually, speaking as the artist, and evaluation. Is it successful? I'd say yes. Yes, it is. Once again, speaking as the artist, I was just going for it looking like a dragon. And even if I wasn't the artist, I would still see a dragon. I think if I were to do anything different, I would need to maybe bulk out the body a little bit, make it a little more solid so that it's more easily differentiable from the body. And yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say about it, aside from I think it's really cool because it's mine and I love it.
And that is the best way to express your artwork. If you love it, then it's good.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
don't like hearing myself recorded.
I don't. I just like. I just tune myself out.
it took me a little bit to see the dragon, and now
Me
that
too.
I see it, it's obvious. It's completely obvious.
Yeah.
And sometimes if we're describing something, we will see something that we just can't get out of. And
Yes.
I would, and sometimes it's difficult to step back from that and try to describe it just because we can't, we see one thing and that's all we can see. There's in the work that I do with the church, there were a couple of projects that I was on where we were designing windows, and there's one person whose job apparently is to find faces in things like the stained glass and the design work. And it was really kind of funny to me because at first I thought, well, that's ridiculous. And then he pointed out a face and you just could not unsee the face that he was pointing out. And it was pretty funny.
It's also the same thing. You know those FedEx trucks? The E and the X, if you look right in between them,
Oh yeah.
you see an arrow.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wonder if that is a design element that was on purpose too,
It
because I've
was pretty
seen
much
that.
deliberate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, that makes a lot more sense to me than if it was accidental. But yeah, I think I'm really appreciating what people are doing in their critiques. They're doing a really good job. And I say they. I think Katie, you that was your dragon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a really good job.
To be
I think one of the things to get away from that I hope you guys do more of is to take yourself seriously enough that you don't have to feel like you need to be self-deprecating or nervous when you critique your own work, because it's you guys have spent 18 to 20 years getting to where you are right now. You deserve a little bit of confidence. So I think that and when you pull yourself back from the self-critique and are able to look at it like somebody else's thing and realize that you know more about what you are doing than almost everybody else in the world, and that's billions of people. And so I think that stepping back from that and being able to realize that you should take yourself seriously would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I
For
think,
me, it's a little
especially.
easier if it's a written assignment because I have a hard time like expressing what I want to say out loud because my brain works so much faster than my mouth does. And so like you heard all the hesitance in my video, and
Right.
yeah.
that wouldn't have happened on paper because I'm actually pretty good at that. And I've also done self critiques of like my own writing and things like that before, and so I'm more uh, confident and familiar with doing it in writing. So doing it like out loud was a little weird.
Yeah, I get that. I can see how that would be difficult. I have had students that have also had severe social anxiety, and they could not stand the sound of their own voice recorded at all. And I've had one person write the critique out and then had somebody else read it for them. But on video. And that worked out. That was kind of cool. But
That's honestly
I
how I
wanted to
do it.
do that, but none of my roommates were home, so
I just write it out and then I just read it. It helps me get a visual understanding.
that's a good way to go too. One of my friend, he was a teacher, then a mentor, and then a friend, was James Christensen, who's the fantasy artist that you guys probably know about. And I was working on some windows for his residence, for his home, where he would paint one side of the glass and I would paint the other side so it would match it. And as he and I were working on these things, somebody up front of the store came back and asked me a question. I still have no idea what the question was, but I rattled off an answer and she seemed really happy. Then went back up front. The customer was happy, bought what they wanted to get, and everybody left and everybody was happy. And a little while later, I turned to him and said, "You know what? I can't remember what she asked me. I have no idea what that was about." And he said, "You know what? You've learned the first lesson and the most important lesson. It doesn't matter what it's about. When you say it quickly and with confidence, everybody knows you know what you're talking about. That's the lesson."
Live lesson.
that is a lesson my little brother was born knowing.
All
He once tried
right,
to
now.
play the word Quetzal in Scrabble, Quetzl, on a triple letter, and he said it was an African bird with such confidence that we had to look it up to make sure we were right in telling him that he was wrong.
For a split second, I thought
Awesome.
you said pretzel.
Yeah.
Because the quetzal, there is a South American bird that's called the quetzal, but that's a totally different thing. And of course, I could be making that up and you wouldn't know.
Yeah. I'll have to look it up.
All right, now here's another self-critique.
Hi, my name is Mitch Smith. I'm going to be critiquing this artist's, wink wink, defining volumetric form with line sculpture. Obviously, it's made with wire, but the shape of it looks to be in kind of the shape of a lion that's at rest. There's a lot of wires going around, shaping through like the belly of the lion and over the rump and kind of the main spine, like the back of the backbone of the lion, I'm trying to say at least, and then curving around kind of behind the right paw of the beast. So there's obviously a couple more lines there that define the back leg curled up and the forepaws that are just kind of stretched out, as well as the lion's tail that's up, kind of active. So it does appear to be awake, present, and alert.
I'm sorry about that. I did not mean to.
And then there's an outlining shape for the mane of the lion, and a few wires that kind of meet up, but define the shape of the top of its head and like below its snout. So the piece kind of feels to me like a just kind of like a majestic creature. So like the king of the jungle, it's the lion, it's the top of the food chain. So kind of a powerful at rest emotion, being able to sit during the day because they're nocturnal hunters and just survey its domain. The lion looks to me kind of like it's just resting, luxuriating, and kind of can just look over where it lives because it has that ability to just relax and do nothing when it just wants to rest and then hunt at night maybe. But so yeah, I think that the lines and the shapes all point toward that emotion pretty well. I really like the way that the tuft of the tail is made with the tight coils of wire, and at the nose as well, that it's kind of repeated as well to keep there. It does look like the appendages and everything were separate parts, so the artist just kind of coiled the wire together to be able to make it into one piece. So yeah, really well done there, but it does seem like there could have been maybe a little bit more detail in where the mane meets the face, or I guess the head of the lion, because that's not very clearly defined there now that I look at it. And it is missing one hind paw, one hind leg, that even though at this perspective you wouldn't see it in the sculpture, you definitely can notice that it's missing. So yeah, it's pretty good workmanship. Definitely a couple of things that I would have added there, but it conveys its emotion pretty well. So anyway, bye.
All right, what did you think about that one?
I started thinking of Weemaway about halfway through, and that's all that was going through my head. So
You are not a very good concentrated listener. Jeez.
not always. It was that and the song from VeggieTales about throwing Daniel in the lion's den.
The one thing that I really liked about that is, again, he's able to divorce himself from the fact that he's the artist. And I thought he did a really good job, especially when at the last critique, what he could do better. And I think that there you have to be really careful. When it's your own art, you have to be really careful, because we always are our own worst critic or harshest critic. And I think you do need to accept the fact that you do have more talent than 99% of everybody else on the planet. But that doesn't mean you get a fat head about it. And what I thought that he did a really good job of balancing, what he felt it needed without being too harsh. And I thought that was nicely done. All right, now, Katie, you said you had to leave early. How much longer do we have you?
Yeah, I can stay till 8:45.
Okay, what I want to do is watch one of these two PowerPoint presentations while you're here. 8:45. Okay, let's do the James Turrell. All right. Okay, and then that will give us just a minute or two to talk about it.
Hello, this is my presentation on James Turrell. So, James Turrell was born on May 6, 1943 in Los Angeles, California. As a child, Turrell developed an interest in cosmological phenomena because of the flights he took with his father, who was an aeronautical engineer. Turrell even earned his own pilot's license at the age of 16, which furthered his fascination with the sky. Furthermore, his mother also held strong Quaker beliefs, and one of those beliefs is that each person can experience an inner light. So these two aspects of Turrell's upbringing influenced his love for space and light, which end up being his two main forms of medium. James Turrell graduated from Pasadena High School in 1960 and went on to study experimental psychology at Paloma College in Claremont, California. After graduating in 1965, he became interested in art and enrolled in a graduate program at the University of California, Irvine. In 1967, he created his first piece named Afram, shown in the photo on the slide. And this installation was light projected into the corner of a room, forming a three-dimensional illuminated floating cube. After this, he began making constructions that changed the viewer's perception on space within a room. After graduating with a master's in art from Claremont Graduate School in 1973, Turrell began to work on his first large sky space, which was an aperture cut into the roof of a building that causes the visible plane of the sky to appear flat. Unlike a show of paintings or sculptures, every one of Turrell's pieces must be built on site, which can even require modifications to the museums themselves. Windows must be blocked off or painted black to obscure outside light. Zigzagging hallways are constructed to isolate installation rooms, and each of the rooms has to be built according to Turrell's designs. These installations also depend on computers to run the show. Specific software and programming is crucial to all of his installations coming alive. James Turrell has permanent installations in 29 different countries around the world. Some of those which are Argentina, Japan, Mexico, the Netherlands, Greece, Switzerland, England, Berlin, and the United States. The House of Light in Japan, which is pictured on this slide, is a house designed with traditional Japanese architecture, aesthetics, and culture, combined with Turrell's typical play on light and shadow. Guests can even stay overnight at this house of light and experience Turrell's work to the fullest. In 1968 and 1969, James Turrell began experimenting more with color. Raymar Pink White, constructed in 1969, appears as a hologram of receding light on a wall of a pink illuminated room. This is the picture shown on the slide. This is one of Turrell's earliest shadow spaces and is meant to be viewed from the back of the room in order to challenge the viewer's depth perception. James Turrell consistently works with light, shadow, and space. In 2020, Turrell had a 2-floor exhibition at Mexico City called Passages of Light. Within this exhibition, Turrell wanted to create a space where his audience feels a presence or an entity. He wishes to create an immersive space that works to deceive the viewer's eyes and overall perception of reality. Through a change of colors and various visual effects, these spaces, created by light, transforms and dissolves in front of viewers' eyes, making them wonder what is real and what is not. Rodan Crater is James Turrell's most ambitious project yet. He has spent 45 years designing a series of tunnels and chambers inside a volcano in order to capture celestial light. Standing 580 feet tall and 2 miles wide, one of the tunnels that Turrell has completed is 854 feet long. Turrell has also worked closely with astronomers and astrophysicists to calculate the alignment of major astrological events. The work is built to align most perfectly during the major lunar standstill, which happens every 18.61 years. And lastly, Turrell's artwork often distorts reality, which creates some issues between his artwork and his audience. In 1980, a woman mistook a wall of light that was on display at the Whitney Museum for an actual physical wall. Trying to lean against it, she actually fell and sprained her wrist. Because of this, she sued for $250,000. Another time, a visitor sat down on a work that looked solid but was actually water. The piece was surrounded by neon lights, which shattered as a result of the visitor's fall. And lastly, a woman plunged into one of Turrell's works at the Venice Biennale.
Okay. The thing that I thought was irritating
Hello,
about
this
that,
is my
I'm sorry, not what this person did. But I will tell you what is so frustrating to me is when you are in a museum space, you don't lean against the artwork.
Also,
I
even
mean,
leaning against
really,
a wall that you thought was fine, like even that seems a little weird for a museum.
yeah,
Like you
you
don't
don't do
lean
that
on
in
the
a
wall.
museum. Yeah, I saw one of his works. We went to Eugene, Oregon, at University of Oregon a couple weeks ago, and I saw one of his sculptures that he had made for them there, and it was really very cool. It was really cool to see that. And you know, you think, okay, the photos are doing something. Well, the photos aren't doing anything. The photos really don't help you to appreciate what is going on. And I thought that doing that, I thought Brooklyn did an exceptionally good job at sharing some of James Turrell's work. She balanced giving a little bit of background and biography with, she didn't give too much. It was just enough so you can kind of appreciate where he's coming from. And I thought it was great where she kind of talks about the sequence of things as they happened, and then some of the dumb stuff that dumb people did. You know, I really like all that. And the Rodin Crater, it's always cool to hear more about that stuff that you didn't know before. What did you guys think?
I think that artist is really cool. It's all the works that she showed in her PowerPoint were just really interesting to look at, and I think she did a good job of kind of weaving the facts about him with the actual works.
Yeah, I think so. And I really, the works that she showed were really good ones to see. You know, sometimes the only ones you can find online are poorly photographed, and she did a great job finding ones that were excellently photographed. That was good. And it was, you know, as far as art nerds go, that was fun to watch. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have definitely heard of him before. I'm
that
pretty
was
sure it
cool.
was from my other class when I had to do research on one of like artists, and I came across him.
Yeah, he's done some pretty cool stuff, but I thought she did a great job talking about him. You didn't have to know about him to appreciate what was going on, and you didn't even have to be a fan of that style of non-objective artwork in order to enjoy what he was doing. She picked great photos, and she picked the best parts to share about the artist and his work. So that was really good. All right. Okay, now, Katie, do you have to leave right now?
Yeah, I probably should.
Okay. then Nick and I will watch some more things, and I will put this online as soon as we can, as soon as I can after we're done. So
Alrighty.
I hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too.
Thank
We'll
you.
see ya.
Bye bye.
All right. We'll see you later. All right, Nick, we are going to go back and watch some more of this awesome stuff.
Yes. But is mine on there or no?
I'm looking. I do not see this. I don't I think one of yours we already talked about.
The biometric form one or the one I made of the hourglass looking one?
Let's
Oh no, it was the
see.
biometric form.
I'm trying to find where it was. Okay, so, but you know which one it was.
Yeah, I believe it was the biometric form one. I just thought my wire one would be on there. But maybe I'm just like going crazy. I don't know.
Okay, I don't see it, so I'm gonna have to go back through and make sure I get it up on the channel, because I may just have not put it on the channel yet. Okay. Okay, we are going to watch another one. Let me get it queued up here. And I will share the screen again. And I will, Nick, I will look for yours and find out where it is, because I'm sure it's somewhere.
If not, then it probably grew legs and flew off.
Yeah. All right. So this is by Mitch. So this is another one, and I really like this artist. So let's go ahead.
My artist research project was done. I did it on Shirin Nishat. She's an Iranian artist. She was born in 1957 in Kasvin, Iran. But when she was about 17, her father sent her over to the United States to be able to finish her education here. Shortly after that, though, the Islamic Revolution occurred, barring her from her homeland for the next almost 20 years. Upon returning, the first thing that she had mentioned was that the home she came back to was unrecognizable. So yeah, at that time, she really didn't go into photography immediately after finishing her education, but kind of the beginning of her expressing herself through photography happened when she did return to Iran. Some of the things that she saw there, the differences between what her country was now and what it was before. She started to use photography as kind of a way of documenting what she saw. So that was about the mid 90s when she began her career in photography. And she didn't begin with much of a political voice, but she did eventually develop a political viewpoint that, as you'll see, she begins to express that through her work. And this obviously makes it unsafe for her to return to her homeland because it's unclear how that message will be taken by the regime. So specifically, what she's spoken on the topic of the political angle of her work, she views politics as inseparable from the art made by Iranian artists, that it is impossible to separate politics from her work. Obviously, the political statements she makes are controversial in her homeland and make it so that she must stay in the States for now, or she views herself as a nomadic artist, so going to different countries as well, but she's still unable to be able to return to her home, to return to any family that she still has living there. She's made a statement on the two main purposes, on kind of the twofold mission of her work. Is number one, to paint a picture of the strength of Iranian women, to break and shift Western paradigm on the way we think about Iranian women, specifically changing the idea that they are repressed or weak or being oppressed by a male-dominated regime, that she wants to share with the world that the women of her country are strong, that they are resolute, and that they are the revolutionary or forward thinkers. And so the main thing is this empowering women, but the second kind of part of her mission is as well to bring to light and kind of shed a critical lens on the Iranian regime. So, as mentioned, one of the things that she's doing is trying to shift Western thought on women, specifically from her from her background, the women from her country, the women from her religion, that they be thought of as something different than weak or voiceless, but that they are instead strong innately, and that they have the capacity within them, and that they really are the moving force behind revolutionary thought in her land and really everywhere. So kind of a lot of her work does touch this reconciling the religious devotions, especially kind of with the negative stigma against the Muslim veils that women are required to wear, and just reconciling this with their personal devotion instead of that they are being forcibly oppressed by the men in their society. So a lot of feminism kind of shows in her art. She considers herself to be a feminist, and that she's kind of a voice for specifically the women of Iran, as I mentioned, that they are the strong ones there, and that they can be empowered for change, and that they will be the engine for that change. The cool thing that I found in her artwork was the text that shows up a lot. Unfortunately, not in this piece, but in most of the other ones, you will often see inscriptions in Farsi that are artistically added and kind of contoured into these images. And I find that really cool because these, as you can see in this image as well, are inscriptions in Farsi, and they are specifically writings most often or always by different Iranian women who are poets, who are kind of well-renowned, well-known poets in their societies. One of the interesting things also about her work is that she often employs specific symbols, like for example, the veil that both directly and kind of indirectly reinforces the religious side of things, but another one is this gaze that she often mentions in her work. So in the ideology of feminism, there is what is known as the male gaze, the objectifying or sexualizing gaze of society that has repressed and has objectified women, and and her work often employs this looking back at the audience as a way of challenging that gaze, as a way of
challenging that objectifying gaze, showing that women are more empowered, that they are more than their bodies, that they are strength, and that they are this force for change that I've mentioned. So what I find cool about her work as well is this duality that she uses. As I mentioned, she employs the veil often, that her subjects are often wearing a veil, that there's this Farsi writing in a religious style, however, often written by forward-thinking and very and even secular writings from these female poets of well-renowned in Iran. She'll often employ even a gun, expressing her own message against on violence and everything as well. So I really like her work. I thought this was a really eye-opening experience for me, and I think it's striking to see the way the eyes and the mystery in her work really intrigues me. So thank you.
I thought that was really a well done one as well. Sharon Nishat is one of my heroes, but what I like about this is that she directly deals with some really hard topics, and Mitch was able to address those and address those really well. He gave specifics. In Islam, there's a Western perception that women are repressed, when at the time that the Prophet Muhammad was alive, the people that lived around Mecca and that part of the world, they valued their livestock above women and girls. So a family, if they didn't have enough food for the goat and a girl, they would feed the goat and let the girl starve. And it's recorded that up until the age of 14, a family that didn't want to deal with a daughter, could bury her alive in the sand and get rid of her that way. And so when the Prophet Muhammad came along, this was going on, and his wife was in this environment, a millionaire businesswoman, incredibly successful. He admired her greatly. He thought she was just absolutely amazing. And as prophet and revealer of the Quran, one of the things he talked about was developing the hijab, and the hijab was this hair covering that actually Jewish and Christian women have been using for an awful long time, and the Muslims just adopted it. And it forced men to look at a woman's face and into her eyes and recognize her humanity. And so that's what the hijab actually means. And the choda, which is the version of the hijab that Iranian women wear, is the same kind of thing. It was intended to hide the hair, so you're forced to look at the woman's humanity through her face. And this is something that has been lost, this idea. And I think Sharon, by doing the work she does, really emphasizes the woman's face in her work, and her eyes, and forces you, just like the prophet had intended, to gaze at her and recognize your humanity. And I think that's really powerful. And I love the fact that Mitch was able to bring those artworks out. When I was in Iran, it was not the experience that US social media prepared me for at all. In Tehran, trying to get across a busy street is impossible. There's absolutely no reason why they waste any money on traffic lights and paint on the road, because nobody cares. Nobody pays any attention to the traffic lights. And it's a wonder more people aren't hit by cars. But when we wanted to get across the street, all we had to do is flag down somebody's grandma wearing her full choda, and she would just walk out into the middle of the street without looking, and everybody would come to a halt without honking their horn or anything. They let her do whatever she wanted. There's this kind of reverence that I experienced seeing. There was a kind of reverence particularly towards women that could be your mother in Iran by regular people. And I think the government itself, there are policies that may not show that, but demonstrate that to the Western eye. But when I was in Iran and Tehran specifically, people stopped what they were doing and showed respect. So which I think is really interesting, which, that's a message that you don't get here in the West at all. But I thought that was, so I think just this is a good choice for an artist. And I thought that Mitch did an exceptional job sharing that with us. All right, I'm trying to get back to the playlist. So okay, here we go. All right. So what did you think about Mitch's presentation?
To be honest, it was kind of like eye-opening because it just tells me that Utah isn't the only, like the U.S. isn't the only place that's having some really messed up things going on. But are also the women in Islamic culture are still suffering what the women did back in the 1950s, I'd have to guess, 60s, long ago.
I would go back further. I think it's as bad in the U.S. in the 1910s, before World War I. Women really did not have much rights at all, and I think that no voice whatsoever. And I think that Iranian women today, Sharon points out, a lot of the voice that is taken from them by Western media. How many times have you heard any news reports about what Iranian women are actually doing, as opposed to news reports about how much they can't do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah.
The Islamic women there share a lot of things of what happened to the women back then.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And plus, it's just like he tells it like a story. It makes the culture and the reason why this photographer, Sharon, does what she does.
Yeah, it was really, like you said, it was eye-opening. I thought it did a really good job. Okay, we're going to watch 3 peer critiques right now. And the reason I'm doing this for the recorded sessions is that when we're live, I like everybody to show their own stuff and do the presentation in the class. And since we can't do that, I put them on the YouTube channel so you can watch them again if you want to. But I want everybody to know, I'm sharing these so that everybody can appreciate what other people are doing. And it also helps if you are still putting yours together. I think these have been really good examples. People have been doing an exceptional job. Okay, so this one is peer critique by Brooklyn.
This is the texture and color tiles done by Madison Widower. I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly. But I can see that there are 2 cubes made of 6 different tiles each. The one on the left is constructed demonstrating using different textures, and these textures are all very different, but they chose to use rocks, those popsicle sticks, maybe that's grass or long leaves, and then tinfoil, leaves, and what appears to be paper possibly. The other cube on the left, which demonstrates color, uses a variety of colored paper. And that paper is cut out and create different cutouts create different patterns and demonstrate different color schemes. Both cubes demonstrate the use of very clean and sharp lines. Obviously, the texture cube doesn't have literal lines, but it's kind of implied lines. And And then the colored cube uses lines because those cutouts create those lines. The colored cube is more flat and contains very little texture, but the texture cube has surfaces that extend beyond that literal cube. For the analysis section, the artist has gathered different textures in colored paper in order to glue them onto those 6 tiles, and then those 6 tiles are also glued together to make the 2 different cubes. The use of so many different textures creates that variety and contrast and kind of makes that viewer interested in the piece, obviously, because it's not just all the same. The use of vertical lines and lines in general, especially in the texture cube, creates that movement within the cube, which forces the viewer's eyes to go from tile to tile. So kind of, for example, those popsicle sticks force the viewer's eyes upward and into the rocks, and your eyes kind of travel throughout those rocks and then maybe down through the grass. And the same goes for the color cube. Obviously, it has a lot of sharper lines, but those lines kind of force you from tile to tile, and then the flowing lines in some of the tiles kind of keep your eyes within that and makes the viewer want to keep looking at that tile specifically. For the interpret section, the piece is very conceptual, but communicates the effects of texture and color as well. The piece demonstrates important aspects of art and uses simple items and colors in order to create visually appealing art. Obviously, this project was relatively simple, but this artist made it very visually appealing by using such a variety of textures and different patterns and colors within those color cube. For the judgment section, I do believe this project was successful because it accurately depicts those different textures and colors, which was the given assignment, obviously. I believe it was also successful because the use of different natural textures makes this piece very relatable. You walk outside and you see all these objects, or most of these objects, so it kind of engages the viewer and makes it relatable to them, which obviously makes the piece successful because one of the goals of art is to engage your viewer and make it appealing to them.
All right, I think this is another successful one. Brooklyn went through and did each of the steps like you're supposed to. And I think she was very articulate and very clear. What did you think?
I honestly really liked it. How she was able to jump from one aspect or description of the cube to another. Like how she was able to guide us, like I say, guide us from one tile to the of the cube. Like you said with the popsicle stick leading us up to the rocks,
Right. Yeah,
or having
that
our
was
eyes
really
move
cool.
around and then back down to the grass, and then she jumps to the colors and a smooth transition. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she did a really good job transitioning. And that the 2 cubes, I think, is a difficult one to critique, and I thought she did a great job. So yeah, excellent. All right, now we're going to do Katie's peer critique.
I'm pretty
Okay,
sure she's
hi.
happy that she's in here for this.
I'm Katie,
Yeah.
and this is Brooklyn Anderson's wire sculpture. First off, description. I see wire, obviously, on a white background. It looks like it's wound quite a few times in certain places and a little more flowy and free in others. There's a slightly more complex framework for the body of the form, along with simpler offshoots. Analysis. It looks like the artist took some wire and wound it several times to make the basic form, and then bent the wires in and out of that form to create what you see. The wire itself gives a pretty simple appearance while still being fairly complex, especially in the body of the form. It looks like a fish, complete with fins and a tail. All right, interpretation. Fish have been seen used as symbols for a very, very long time. One prominent place you can see it is in Christianity. There's always the story of how Jesus fed his followers with the loaves and fishes and all that. For me personally, the fish means sort of I don't know. It reminds me of my family because they like fishing. My my dad and brothers especially, and so seeing this just kind of reminded me of them. And so personally, the fish doesn't mean much in and of itself to me. It's more what I associate with the fish, which I guess is literally symbolism. That's what symbolism is. It could also have something to do with dating. I mean, there's plenty of fish in the sea and all that. Evaluation. Well, if the artist was looking to make a fish, they made a fish. It's a fish. If the artist was trying to make me think of home, they also succeeded. It's a pretty good little fish, actually. My little brother, I think, would enjoy that very much. So yeah, I think it's successful.
I think from my perspective, she did a great job. I think one of the things I really liked was when she was talking about potential symbolism and the interpretation, she talked about several different options. And I thought that was really good. There's another artist that does that too. Another student that did that in I can't remember. And I really appreciate that when people do this kind of thing, when they give lots of different options for the potential meaning. And I'm trying to remember the name of the person who did it, and I'm not being successful.
Your brain's just like, no, you're not remembering.
Oh,
No, I'm out.
that's it. It was Alondra. Alondra was really good at giving several different interpretations. I'm sorry, Nick, what did you say?
I was just trying to make a joke, trying to be funny.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I missed it. I was so obsessed with my own pursuit
Yeah, it's fine.
of information. But Alondra was really good also about giving several different options for the symbolism. What did you think, Nick? What did you like about what she'd done?
Honestly, I also like that she brought symbolism in to the artwork. But what I like the most is that she was able to get a memory of her life, like of her family, from
Yeah.
the students' creation. Like what she said, her brother and her father go fishing. That's what I really liked. That from looking at the student's creation, she drew a memory from her family.
Yeah, and it was what I liked about that aspect of it is that she was very articulate and specific as to why. Because a
Yeah.
lot of the times we'll see something, it'll bring back memories, give us associations, and one of the evidences that you're really paying attention is that you're able to articulate why those associations are coming about. So yeah, I agree, Nick. That was well done. All right, now let's go. This is the last one that we're going to look at tonight. This is a critique of someone else's work by Mitch, and we will check it out.
Hi, my name is Mitch Smith. I'm going to be critiquing the students' defining volumetric form with line sculpture project. In the picture, you can see they've created this piece out of wire, obviously, and it appears to be a digital camera of some kind, like a professional grade camera. There's two main wires that kind of form the main body of this camera. And then there's a base created by another one that's just been twisted around those wires around the bottom of it to form kind of that square shape at the base. And then on the face of the camera is another wire for the lens, another wire creating the shutter. And at the top, the built-in flash has been added as a detail as well. I think the craftsmanship on this piece is really good. And I think it also ties in with kind of the emotion that's conveyed through this piece. The placing of everything is correct. The shutter button is on the correct side, or at least on the side that I've most commonly seen it on, and the flash and the lens and everything is placed properly. So they definitely referenced and made sure that to take the time to make sure and put everything correctly on there. The two wires that form the body shape of this camera are also uniform in shape. So it looks like to me they planned that in some sort of way. They maybe took both wires, bent them at the same time over a counter, or they just did that properly so that the camera didn't end up coming out misshapen at all in that way. So I think that was really successfully done. It's obviously a proper representation of what a camera should be and what it should look like. And what I really like about this piece is the abstraction. The shutter button and the lens there, a lens doesn't exactly look like that, but they got all the shapes correct in it. But what I like is the way that they kind of represented that. Also kind of feeds into the positive, bubbly emotion in this piece. To me, those spirals kind of, and then the twisting of the other wires around to hold them together, that all kind of has a bubbly, positive, love of photography type emotion behind it. And I think this was really well thought out, or at least the emotion was very well conveyed in this piece. Because the little that I know about photography is that unlike other mediums, you have the challenge of taking what's in front of you and creating an emotion out of things that already exist. Creating that with the tools that you have to find a way to use those tools, and maybe you do abstract it a little bit. And so I feel like that's really well done. Obviously, all the shapes are correct, but there's just slight variation in the lens and the shutter that reminds me of abstract photography, and I really like that. I definitely feel the artist's love for photography behind this. It kind of mirrored the way I feel about photography, the little that I've done in my life as well. That even though it's challenging to do, to create artwork in this medium, it's still something that can be very fulfilling and something that the artist obviously loves very much. I think that, I think this piece is very successful in that way. So yeah, good job to you. Thanks a lot.
All right, I thought that was another really good one. And he's doing some of the same things that Katie had done as well. Did you notice that, Nick?
Yes, I did. He had brought he had expressed that he could see how much thought and love that the student had put into creating this wire sculpture of a camera. Like he could see how hard they did with it and their love
Yeah,
for
and
photography.
And I like the fact how he was able to personalize it with his own experience with photography as well, just like Katie had. So that, yeah, that was really well done.
Yeah.
And again, the important thing is he was able to specifically articulate why. And I thought that was really great.
Yeah. And as a fellow photographer myself, I have to say I agree. That is one that made me smile.
All right, good. Excellent.
Sorry. My family is having a time of their lives right now. Yeah.
Excellent.
It really made me happy that how photography, that even if it's not a picture, just the general sculpture of it is able to make people feel the intent of a photographer or the love for photography.
All right,
I
excellent.
approve
Very
as a
nice.
photographer.
Well, that was all that I wanted to share. That's so that's sharing with everybody the different things that have been turned in. I wanted to remind people a couple things, and I agree wholeheartedly with Nick. I think everybody did a really great job with these presentations. When you do your peer critique and self critique before Wednesday at midnight, and if you do your PowerPoint presentation before Wednesday at midnight, you get extra credit points. So, and that's still open for everybody. And then we'll go over them again next week. And I think next week we were talking that 8 o'clock is going to work. So I'm going to change the time to be 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights for our usual meeting. I didn't want to do that to you this week because I want people to use Wednesday to get ready for Thanksgiving, get ready for the holiday. And hopefully you'll be able to use that to catch up on things. Everything is graded as of right now. And as you turn things in over this week, I'm going to do my best to grade them and turn them around right away. I have already had several people who have, one person was able to uh, rework 6 different assignments, which is really good. And several people have upgraded their quiz points by making comments or retaking the quizzes, and that's really helpful. Please, when you do that, pay attention to what I say about the questions that need to be fixed. Um, I have had people before who kept rewording the wrong answer, and they were getting really frustrated that they weren't getting it right when they were not paying attention to which number I had asked them to fix. But yeah, so those are all really good, and I think we're coming close to the home stretch. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from people. So I will. I think that's all I needed to cover this time for tonight. I will put this up right away so everybody can see it. Do you have any questions for me, Nick, about the next month or so?
Uh, could you tell me what the PowerPoint is named on the canvas? Like what module is it in?
Yeah, it is in 7C. So if you are doing the artist research route, the PowerPoint presentation is called Artist Research PowerPoint Presentation.
I'm not doing that one.
You're doing service learning?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So go,
Yeah, that's all I had.
okay, so yours is called Service Learning Dash the project, and you just follow the directions on that to do. So you don't have to
service.
you don't have to worry about the PowerPoint. And for everybody who's doing service learning, if you get that project done on 7.C and you get that turned in, I will go through and make sure that you guys get extra credit as well. If you do that before Wednesday at midnight. But I don't want you guys to stress it because sometimes the project, the service project, takes the entire semester to get done.
The one you
All
had
right.
mentioned to me, is it called the artist research PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, on
Okay.
module 7.C. And
Okay.
if you're doing service learning, you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, sweet.
All right. And I'll just look forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday. But when you do, if you aren't getting all the points that you want, and this is for everybody in the class, visit the comments that I've made about your submission. And if you don't understand, let me know and I'll clarify. Because I would like everybody to do whatever they can to turn things in, redo quizzes, whatever you need to, so you can get all the points that you've earned.
Okay.
All righty.
Yeah. Sorry for being like a nagging person. So I don't have to do the PowerPoint presentation, or I do.
Well, it should, if you are doing service learning,
Yeah.
your part of 7.C, module 7.C, is labeled service learning dash the project, and that's the part that you do. If you are doing the artist research, then you worry about the PowerPoint. But if you're doing service learning, you don't worry about the PowerPoint. And I'm
Okay.
just double checking. If you're doing the service learning, I do not have you listed as doing the service learning. Did you switch over and decide to do that instead of the artist research?
No, I wanted to do. The. Wait. No, I don't remember which one I did.
Well, whichever one you picked, that will be the one that shows up for things you've got to do. If you're not on the list, I don't think you can access the other route. So double check that if you don't mind. The assignment is called artist research or service learning, and just double check which one you did for that. I'm actually double checking right now. Okay, Nick, you wrote down you will be pursuing the artist research route.
Yeah.
So
So I
you
will
are,
be doing it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, hey, it's been a long 3 months. That's totally fine.
Yeah. It definitely has been that, but it's been a fun 3 months.
Good answer. Well, I hope everybody has an absolutely wonderful Thanksgiving. Do everything you can to avoid getting sick. I don't want anybody sick. And do everything you can to avoid getting into trouble and getting arrested. I don't want anybody getting arrested either.
That's
Not
not on
that
my
that
bucket
usually,
list.
yeah. I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody stays well, and I hope everybody has a lot of fun during the break. And I look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday. All right.
All right.
We'll see you later.
Yeah.